So let me go ahead and get started. Where we're going to start with for software licensing is we're going to talk about the components of software licensing and the pieces that are involved in it, and then towards the end we'll jump into the updates for 7.1 and the new kind of method for adding software licensing, the new features for 7.1. So first thing, software license is sort of like an empty circle. It in itself really doesn't hold anything. It's sort of a link to everything else. And where we're going to get our number of licenses we own is actually through something called a software purchase. I'm going to go ahead and open up a software purchase here for Adobe Acrobat 8. So here, what I'm looking at, this is a software purchase of licenses for Adobe Acrobat. And right here, the quantity field, this is the biggest, most important field on the purchase. This gives me a quantity of 12. So my license that this is attached to has 12 quantity licenses for Adobe Acrobat. And that's what my system's going to reflect. So this is where I'm getting the number of licenses that I owned. If I look at, if I come up here to the software licensing dashboard, I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to kind of jump into a report. This is my software licensing product compliance. If I look right here at my Adobe Acrobat license, I can see my 12 licenses that I own. And I'm going to compare that with how many I have installed here, which is 1, shows me at a compliance of 11. All right, so the other half of this is what's installed. How am I getting this number? Where that's coming from is actually coming from inventory, obviously. Inventory is actually linking in through our software catalog in anything version 7 or 7.1. That software catalog is linked to the license through something called a software product. So software products, what you're seeing here, this list, this is actually software products. We're not actually looking at software licenses. Software licenses is a separate resource, and again, linking to other things. It in itself, the software license in itself is just like an empty circle. And if I list out all of my software licenses, I'm going to jump, let me grab it a different way here. I have 2 software licenses here. I've got one for Microsoft Office 2007, and I've got one here for the Adobe Professional 8 that I was just looking at. If I go back to my dashboard, I'm linking to the inventory data through the software product Adobe Acrobat Professional 8. Now, I don't know if anybody has looked at the software catalog, but you may see your inventoried software, and we'll look at the software catalog towards the end because that's some of the newer features. You're going to see that you're going to have multiple versions of Adobe. You're going to have, maybe you have 8.0.1, maybe you'll have some that are 8.0.2, 8.0.3. Each of those is technically, it's the same product. So you're still at version 8. That's why we're linking to a software product of version 8. I may have multiple patch levels linked to that version, but what I'm going to see is I'm going to see how many version 8, I don't care what version they are actually installed, as long as it is version 8. And you can see here I've got Adobe Professional 7, Adobe Professional 9. These are software products again. This is not the actual license itself, and these are again linked to the inventory. So this chart that I'm looking at, this table that I'm looking at, is really kind of the bread and the butter of it. Let me jump down here. And let's take a look at one that I don't have any licenses installed for. Adobe Air version 2. I've got a -2 compliance just because I don't have anything installed. I don't have a license for this yet. So in the original versions of Altiris 6 and then 7.0, we would have to create a license from through here. So let me go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and add a software license. And I'm jumping in right from the quick start, and I'm going to add this one for the Adobe Air product. And we'll just kind of give it a license. So in here I have a license. I'm going to call this Adobe Air 2. And I'm going to come down here. I have to link this. If I don't link this to anything, it doesn't mean anything. I'm going to link this to the covered software product. I'm going to be able to pick from any software product that I have in my system. Going to link this to my software product, Adobe Air 2. Now this software product is obviously linked to a software resource in the catalog, which is where we're getting our inventory from. And I'm going to apply that. Okay, now I'm saved, and I'm going to close out. And then if I refresh this list, I can still see I'm still at a -2. Okay, why is that? Because I have a software license, I just created it. I have no licenses, I have no purchases for this. So I'm going to go ahead and add a software purchase. And I'm just going to make this up. Again, you're going to add a software purchase as you buy software, you're going to add it. You can have multiple software purchases linked to a license, and you're going to have multiple purchases probably throughout a year, throughout the time frame that you're going to use this software. So software purchases, you're going to want to keep them uniquely named. And I'm going to give this today's date to make it uniquely named. And again, the most important part of this, again, I'm probably going to want to keep track of how much this costs, how much per piece. My most important thing that I need is a quantity. So I'm just going to say about 5. And I can link, obviously I can link ownership to this resource. Anything within the asset system I need to keep track of, I'm going to link in here. Locations, anything that I want to use. I'm going to just do this simply just to give us a number to show the compliance. I'm going to go ahead and apply this. And just kind of a forewarning to everybody is I'm going to have to run, there's one task we're going to have to run to make this show correctly, because even if I refresh this guy, it's going to still show a -2. There's a nightly task that runs that redoes these numbers when I purchase. So if everybody would just bear with me for a second, I'm going to go ahead and run that, and then we're going to see the correct compliance. Okay, while I'm waiting for this, I just happened to see a question pop up about this job. This job is actually automatically configured. It's something I would always check it just to make sure that it is running as specified. You can see, I'm just going to close this for a second. You can see that it's set up and it's run. You can see the last time it ran. I would always check it just to make sure that it is running, but this should be configured by default. So this will eventually show this first column purchased 3, and then we'll see compliance of -2. I'm going to leave this thing refreshing and kind of talk a little bit about these other columns here. So in here with software licensing compliance, I've got a handful of different columns. Resize this just a little bit. So purchase column. This purchase column, like I said, this is how many licenses I've purchased or how many I own. This is how many I'm comparing against. All right. Next 2 columns, borrowed and donated. Okay, borrowed and donated go hand in hand. And what happens is right now, let's say for example right now, anybody that purchases a license for Microsoft Office, you're going to have to purchase a Microsoft Office 2010 licenses, because nobody sells like a 2003 or 2007 license. You're going to actually end up buying a 2010 license. If your company is on 2003 or 2007 and you need to buy more licenses, you end up with a 2010 license. The way that Altiris is built is you would create a separate license for 2010, add all of the 2010 purchases to that license, so that you may have, let's say you have 500 licenses for 2007, you buy another 50 that are 2010, you can technically run those 50 can run 2007. And what we would do is then set up a borrow-donate type of situation where you're going to donate the 2010 licenses to 2007. And I'm going to go in here and edit one of my licenses just to show you this field. And the 2007 license is borrowing licenses from 2010. And that will show here, that would reflect here that the one version is a plus, the other version is a minus, so that I'm taking away, technically I don't have any 2010 licenses because 2007 is borrowing them all. So let me go into this freshly created Adobe Air license. So this lists all my purchases. Since I only have a few, I'm going to go ahead and grab the one here. And let's apply that. And down here, software license sharing. So here's where I could add in sharing this license. So I have Adobe Air 1 and Adobe Air 2. I could actually grab Adobe, let's say I had Adobe Air 1, I could pick that as the license donator, and I'm going to take how many licenses from that. And that's going to subtract them from this version and give them to the other version. So, but this is the software license sharing is where this borrowed and donate column come from. One field that we don't see on here is, let's go to the reverse from the borrowed donate, where I'm buying 2010 licenses, donating them to 2007. One thing that we don't see right on this list is if we had 2007 licenses, I have my 50, now I'm sorry, my 500, and I have already 50 of 2010. One of the things that I can do is I can actually move up and upgrade those licenses to 2010. And there's a field on the software license that says these were upgraded, so I can add another purchase that actually upgrades those licenses. And when I upgrade those, that takes them away from 2007 and then gives them to 2010. We don't see a column for that, but that is also a subtraction and an addition for the licensing piece. All right, so I'm going to scooch these over and work on the next couple columns here. Installed, right here, these again, these are coming from sort of through a chain of events, kind of like dominoes. Inventory picks them up. There's a task that runs that puts them into the software catalog as is installed software. Then they are linked through this software product, which again, this is a list of software products, to my license. And that's how this number gets to this point. Okay, non-inventoried installs. Any PCs that you have that are not connected to the network. Let's say, for example, you have a PC that runs your security badge system. I've seen that be a common situation where that's not connected to the main network, that may be firewalled off, and Altiris is not allowed to be on that PC. But let's say maybe we do have Microsoft Office on there or an Adobe product on there. Any product that we may have on there. Technically it's installed, but it's not inventoried. So that would count as a non-inventoried installed, and you're kind of on your honor to add those in. And then last column we have is our compliance. It's either a plus or a minus. I'm either compliant or I'm not. Let me go back and edit this license one more time and show these other features that I just talked about. Okay, former software license. So, and the tooltip that comes up, let everybody give everybody a chance to read that, is it's a research association from a software license to a software license. So in here I can edit. If I say I'm going to upgrade a license, if I'm on Adobe Air 2 and I'm going to pull away my Adobe Air 1 licenses, I'm going to say, here's my Adobe Air. I'm basically taking all of my licenses from there and adding them to here, and that will update my quantity by a positive number of how many the old software license held. And then my non-inventoried installs, I can come in here, I can add, okay, I have one, my description, security machine, and assigned, and I can assign that to a person, so I'll just assign that to Kevin. So here I have one. I'm going to go ahead and apply that. All right, completed. Excellent. So I'm going to jump back in here to my software licensing piece and look back at my software product licensing compliance, and now everything ties back in. I have my 5 purchased since I linked that correctly. I have 2 installed, 1 non-inventoried installed, which gives me a +2 compliance. All right, so now let's talk about the new features of 7.1. And to do that, I'm going to come in here and jump to Manage Software. So the software catalog is one of the newest, best features of version 7.0 and version 7.1. And the software catalog ties together so many parts of the system that everything's kind of in one place. 7.1 has had just a huge improvement over 7.0, even with its software catalog. And right now I'm showing all of my software. I have the ability right here to look at every piece of software that's been discovered. These are all installed software, or in my case it's actually imported software that I've set up for the demo. And I can look at that. or I can look at the managed software. So if I'm looking at managed software, I'm going to jump in here to Adobe Air 2. This was the one I was just playing with. And managed software means that I am going to assign a license to it, and I'm going to start tracking this. So right now, I'm looking at my little graph here. I'm showing I'm a +2 with licenses. I'm underdeployed. If I were to set amounts on this, I could actually see how much I have here. And I can see my usage. If I assign software metering to this, I can look at my usage. I don't have any software metering configured right now, but I can see right now installed and used I have none because I'm not metering it. Installed but unused I have 2. So here I can look at my metering data to determine if I can get some of that potential savings by uninstalling licenses that I'm not using. I'm going to move this over just a little bit, and I think Office Professional Plus is my other one that I have a license for. So in here I've got my licenses here. So let's jump back. Let's go back to newly discovered software. Alright, so let me look back here. Office Professional 2010. Okay, so it is still showing as managed. Alright, so what I can do here, apparently it's 2010 and not 2007, I can add licenses in here right off this screen. Let me cancel here, this is just updated. Alright, so I said I wanted to manage this. I have not actually added licenses. I'm going to go ahead and add my license in here. So first thing I have to do is I have to add a software product. Actually, it looks like I have a software product. So I have Office, everything pulled in. So in here, licenses. First thing I have to do, it's going to let me add a license purchase. And it's asking me to type, it's per installed computer. And let's see. I'm going to put in some numbers on this one. Just going to kind of guess that that's $400. And I'm going to add one. And purchase description. All right. And add. And there we have one license. So I'm going to say OK. And I did this on purpose so that we can show how this is going to change as I add more licenses. All right. And we may need to jump and run that task again. But it's showing right now I have one license, and I'm over deployed by $2,400. So it's already showing me that I have money in here. I have a potential savings of $400. But I'm looking and I see, okay, I'm over deployed still. So I'm going to add some more licenses. I think this number right here is the only thing that's not going to show. So I'm going to add another license purchase, and we're going to make this one a bulk. So I'm going to add 10 licenses at a cost of $4,000. And this is going to be True Up Plus. So I'm going to give myself a couple extras. All right. So again, I'm going to jump off the screen and force this guy to refresh. All right, I'm going to go ahead and let that go, and then I'm going to jump back to software. All right, so this is a software that I had already added under managed. I'm going to go back to newly discovered software, and I'm just going to kind of browse through this here really quick and grab a piece of software, and we're going to go ahead and manage it. I'm going to go ahead and grab Camtasia Studio 6. All right, so right here I've got a couple choices. Is manage this software. This creates a software product that can be tracked, delivered, and licensed. That's really the first step, and that's going to put it under this managed software category, or I can throw it on the unmanaged software list. It's already there. But I'm going to go ahead and we're going to say we're going to manage this software. And it is right now identifying the inventory. So I've got one install of this piece of software. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to make any other changes here. I'm just going to throw it over onto managed. If I come back to managed software, showing me my Camtasia, and now I can go back following the same procedure. I can just jump back in, add licenses just as I did on the Adobe product and the Office product that I did. So I'm going to clear this out, and I'm going to hope that that task is completed. and then we'll take a look and see how it looks now. So I have a total of 12 licenses. I have 7 surplus at this point based on my installs, which I have listing right here how many pieces are actually using this. And just to kind of tie this in, this is a listing of all the policies that are installing the software. So you can see just how tightly linked this new software catalog is. Software installs are coming from the same place that I can look at my licenses, all tied in together through this software catalog. These are the newest features of 7.1, and I can see it's all right here, all housed into one place. I can see the money aspect of it. I can see the installation aspect of it, even the usage aspect of it. If I wanted to go ahead and add in usage, I could pop in and say, okay, I want to watch this particular piece of software to show the usage data, to show how much I could save by uninstalling. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. Thank you very much for attending.